Telling everyone, please forgive me. The class today is the words today is very heavy, and I should be speaking this, but I get I get such voices. 3:31:11. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, have your permission to turn on video? Yes. Yes. Yeah. 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 Jai Shri Prabhupada. I'll just chant the prayers first. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Swayam Rukata Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamala Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagratam Sarvanatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagulalita Shri Vishakhanvitam हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभांसुदेवी देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री हरि शिवसुति हरे कृष्णा राम राम हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे गणतारिण परमानंद चैतन्येश्वर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नाथमादिता तं विक्लवया वाचा येनोदरेर्पितः नाथमान ऋषिर्भीता सप्तभाद्री कृतांजलि नाथमान ऋषिर्भीता Suvitatam Viklavaya Vacha Yeno Darirpitaha
Natamana Rishirviti
Natamana Rishirvita
Saptavadri Kritanjali
Saptavadri Kritanjali
Suvitatam Viklavaya
Suvitatam Viklavaya
Vacha Yenodare Pitaha
Vacha Yeno Darirpitaha Rishirvita Saptavadri Kritanjali Viklavaya Vacha Yeno Darirpitaha Natamana Rishirvita Saptavadri Kritanjali Vedatam Visvaya Vacha Yeno Darirpitaha Nathamana, appealing. Rishi, the living entity. Bhita, frightened. Saptavadri, bound by the 7 layers. Krita Anjali, with folded hands. Stuvita, praise. Tam, to the Lord. Viklavaya, faltering. Vacha, with words. Yena, by whom? Udare, in the womb. Arpitaha, he was placed. Translation and purport by Divine Vishla Prabhupada Ki Jai. The living entity in this frightful condition of life, bound by 7 layers of material ingredients, prays with folded hands, appealing to the Lord who has put him in that condition. Purport, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. It is said that when a woman is having labor pain, she promises that she will never again become pregnant and suffer from such a severely painful condition. Similarly, when one is undergoing some surgical operation, he promises that he will never again act in such a way as to become diseased and have to undergo medical surgery. Or when one falls into danger, he promises that he will never again make the same mistake. Similarly, the living entity, when put into a hellish condition of life, prays to the Lord that he will never again commit sinful activities and have to be put into the womb for repeated birth and deaths. In the hellish condition within the womb, the living entity is very much afraid of being born again. And when he's out of the womb, when he's in full life and good health, he forgets everything and commits again and again the same sins for which he was put into that horrible condition of existence. Again, more type. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru. So please forgive me. This is a very strong verse. And actually, this whole series of verses is all telling about, I mean, revealing the power of the illusory energy, which makes any living entity completely helpless in the hands of Maya. We can plan so many ways to get out of Maya. We can think of so many intellectual ways and so many ways to get out of Maya. But the fact of the matter is that the only thing which will help us to get out of Maya is grace. None of our plans, none of our thoughts, none of our very intelligently arranged anything we arrange is not going to help us. And we should always remember that we came to this ISKCON movement because our plans in the material world actually failed. That's a fact. If we were happy in the material world, if we found all the solutions to our problems, why did we have to come to this movement? if we found that the material world is a very good place, we can become happy. Then why did we have to come to this movement? So we came to this movement because our plans in the material world failed. So basically, a simple point is that these verses, the purpose of these verses is to tell us to never take birth again. That's all. Because the basic problem, the beginning problem is that we have a material body. The other problem is that we have material desires. Because of this, we are suffering. We are suffering. And I mean, since I'm speaking on this verse, I just want to be very honest that the reason why I'm here today in the ashram or whatever is simply because of some happening that I got to know about it. And not devotees are tolerating. We have no qualification to be in the ashram or to act in this capacity. I mean, it's very true that probably if I had come to Krishna consciousness later, I probably, would have been in the same, I mean, in a very bad situation. And I have definitely been, into all the bad habits in America because, to be very honest, I came to America for sense gratification. I didn't come for Krishna consciousness. But somehow, because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, Srila Prabhupada, even though he didn't have to, he forceful to criticize or to correct anyone. It's not no position to speak on this verse, but this is actually the Shastra telling us that how having a material body itself in the first place is a big problem. So we have to think from that perspective that we should not think that, how can I be happy in this world? How can I make a career? Or we should not think in that perspective. We should think that how can I make this my last life? And, especially this is a very strong message for the youth because the thing is that in the, youth, in the young age, um, all devotees, they're so fortunate because the thing that they have, I mean, of course, God forbid, is they have time. They have time and they don't have like the youth, they don't have so many material attachments, so many material responsibilities. Their life is quite simple, right? So if they take this message, very, very seriously, then they save themselves a lot of time and a lot of trouble. Lot of trouble. Prabhupada says that uh, the most intelligent person is the one who learns by hearing. So best thing is just hear and learn instead of having to go through the experiences. So the theme of this verse is about pain. So many different emotions that we experience in this world, and there are two different kinds of emotions we experience, either pain or pleasure. And that's why we do all things. We do everything in this world simply to be happy, to gain pleasure. Through pain, when someone goes through pain, is, yeah, this is not good for me. It's a natural reaction. But just like I was mentioning just now, that it's natural. Uh, when I speak about this, or when anyone hears about this, embark on this path, practice this process, it requires a very, very deep understanding of what's going on. So for anyone to be successful in spiritual path, two things are very much important. The first thing is a very clear understanding to go. The understanding has to be very clear, very scientific. It cannot be sentimental. Like when you ask, you should be able to answer questions to yourself. Okay, how will I make progress? How will I come out of my anarthas? What do I need to do particularly? And who will guide me? And also very, very important is amidst all that is actually who will actually our enthusiasm, it becomes very strong when senior devotee or an exalted devotee, advanced devotee, when he actually supports us on the path. Because when we have that support of guru and shiksha guru and senior devotees, then that really gives us a lot of confidence, because this path of bhakti is not any other path like in the material world, but it's a path which is not only it is little difficult, but it is like full spiritual vision. We can see what we're doing, and that happens a very advanced stage. Until that point, we're actually literally like kind of walking blindfold only. When we have some idea of what we're doing, we have some, but to see where I am, what progress I'm making, how close I am, how much Krishna is pleased, we may not have that clear vision. So that's why it's very important. Like chanting and hearing, all this is definitely there, but the secret of enthusiasm is the words of senior devotees. The shelter of senior devotees, shelter of our guide. So life, because the path of bhakti is based on the principle of surrender. So unless you surrender to someone, then the path of bhakti, it doesn't really have, in Krishna's eyes, in Krishna's calculation, or in Krishna's examination, we have to become attractive, or we have to Krishna has to be pleased with us. How is the easiest way or the most important factor in pleasing Krishna at any point is how much we're surrendered to our guide, our authority, etc., etc. I mean, whoever is the authority in your life, like for a child, it can be the mother, for brahmachari, it can be the leader of the temple, like etc., etc. But the point is, this is the most important thing at any point in our spiritual journey. Wherever we may go, whatever we may do, we should never sacrifice this principle. That's the pivot of the whole spiritual path. That's why you see so many proper disciples, or maybe not proper disciples, or so many devotees who have been carrying on for so many years in Krishna consciousness enthusiastically. Why? It's because every day while they have executed their devotional duties, they have constantly collected blessings from the person whom they're surrendering to. So that's a great benediction of Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada actually made the system, this authority structure, that we serve under a devotee, wonderful devotee. So that way we get the mercy of the devotee, we get the mercy of the guru, the devotee's guru, we get the mercy of Prabhupada, etc., etc. So this is very important. So again, two things are very important. One is a very clear-cut understanding of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, very clear Sambandha Gyan. And second is we need someone, we need their support, we need their encouragement, you can say. And that's not artificial. It doesn't happen by artificial flattery, but ye yatha mam prapadyante. So to the extent to which we surrender, we take shelter, to that extent we get the enthusiasm or the encouragement to go beyond difficulty. Actually, that's the only thing which is required in our spiritual path, because um, today's problem uh, will not remain tomorrow, will not remain after 5 years by this process of Krishna consciousness. It's very, very powerful. So the only thing we have to do is whether we feel like or we don't feel like, all we have to do is we have to take shelter. We have to take shelter. Actually, what is the most dangerous aspect of any problem in our life? It's the fear aspect. When we become fearful internally, we become fearful. So when we become fearful internally, then even though the problem may appear very small, because of our fear, we don't have the courage to fight. But when we become fearless, then even the most difficult problem, it's not very relevant to us. Because why? Because we have a lot of confidence, we have a lot of faith. So faith is very, very powerful. So the living entity, when put into a hellish condition of life, praises the Lord that he will never again commit sinful activities and have to be put into the womb for repeated birth and death. So this is a prayer that we all made when we were in the womb. So let's remember that prayer, and let's see what we can do sincerely and seriously to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So this is Krishna consciousness. It's not just Krishna activity, but it's Krishna consciousness. And it begins when we take shelter of two things specifically. Is one is the association of devotees, and second is the chanting of the holy names. So when we take shelter of these two things very deeply, then our Krishna consciousness begins. So what is Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness means surrendering to Krishna, submitting to Krishna's will. Because if you submit to Krishna's will completely, that Krishna, whatever you desire, whatever you think, um, um, I completely accept that. Actually, if you just offer such a prayer, immediately you become purified. Immediately you become very enthused in Krishna consciousness. I mean, the best example of this is actually this small Brahmana, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came into the assembly where Mahaprabhu was doing his um, nocturnal kirtans at Shiva Sangan. This brahmachari is very simple brahmachari, and he was only drinking milk. Mahaprabhu chastised him very severely. So Mahaprabhu chastised him very severely. But after that, uh, this brahmachari, he immediately accepted the chastisement, and not only accepted the chastisement, but he became so grateful. He became so grateful. He became he expressed the emotion that actually he was not qualified, but Mahaprabhu was so merciful on him. So because he became so grateful, immediately Mahaprabhu accepted him. So the point is that this Brahmana, he accepted Mahaprabhu's arrangement. In his heart, the fact that Mahaprabhu dismissed him, Mahaprabhu rejected him, he was perfectly happy with that. Another example is Mukunda. Right? When he was told that Lord Chaitanya wants to see him, he said, I mean, when he was told that Lord Chaitanya will see him after millions of lifetimes, he became so ecstatic because he was so happy with the Lord's arrangement. And because of that, Mahaprabhu bestowed special mercy and asked him to come immediately. So when you accept the Lord's arrangement as perfect, and you're very pleased, and you aspire to become an instrument of the Lord's divine arrangement, then that is very purifying, and that is very uplifting in spiritual life. Very uplifting in spiritual life. Like famous example is there of, Janivas Prabhu. Janivas Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada asked him to stay in Mayapur and worship the deities. And by doing that, I mean, this is a very simple thing. Of course, now Mayapur is all over the internet and the phone, and everywhere we see the darshan. But factually, in those days, who knew about it? Nobody knew about Mayapur. Nobody knew what he was doing. But this is called faith, and this is called surrender. So this is the most important aspect of bhakti. Bhakti, the most important aspect of bhakti is sharanagati. So unless you come to the feet of a devotee, surrender, and do what he says, at least whatever extent possible. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm nowhere close to surrendered, but do as much as possible. Then you experience this. You experience a sense of security, comfort, Hmm. So this is very important. We should experience this safety, security, and comfort, and that's required for us. See, what is the principle of any relationship? The principle of any relationship, in a relationship, you receive that. You feel valued, you feel comfortable. So these pure devotee sannyasis, they have no relationship in this world. Of course, uh, they constantly they serve devotees and they give them shelter, but they have no material relationship. They don't take shelter of any material relationship, but they have that relationship with Krishna. And because they have that relationship with Krishna, they feel so comfortable, so secure, so protected, so loved by Krishna. And that's why they're able to do such amazing things, which is humanly impossible. So it's very important for us to consider this point, that accepting the Lord's uh, arrangement as perfect. There's this term called divine slavery. Prabhupada says that, my dear Lord, I have served this material energy enough. I have served Maya enough. Now I don't want to serve her anymore. And then Prabhupada says, this is called renunciation. This is called renunciation. And what I want, my Lord, I want forceful slavery. My Lord, please take away my independence. Please, I don't want any independence. I simply want you to engage me as your servant. Please forcefully engage me. Please take away my independence. So actually, what I feel, or what my, you can say, my experience or realization, whatever you can say, is this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mercy in this movement of Lord Chaitanya is simply based on one thing: is how much we sacrifice, how much we um, try to destroy, how much we try to dissolve, and how much we deal with actually our false ego. So that is the only qualification required to receive Lord Chaitanya's mercy. It doesn't matter how pure, how sincere, I mean, how exalted you are or anything. It just, one thing is how much you are trying to practice the principle of being humble. Uh, So we see, like in the example of pure devotees of the Lord, that if they're in a situation where they need to take a humble position, they very happily take a humble position, like very happily take. They have no hesitation in taking a humble position. So that shows that they're out of this ego. So, and without this constant trying to surrender, trying to follow the orders of a senior devotee, mm, one cannot get spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is not an intellectual kind of thing. So real spiritual knowledge is Krishna from within the heart giving the inspiration to act in a particular way. So, like we all know, Nayan Sundari Mataji, at the last moment, she folded her hand, she offered obeisance to all the devotees. Why? Because Krishna inspired her to do that. Krishna forced her to do that. So that is a real intelligence. And that comes by this process. So unless we constantly try to follow the orders of a senior devotee, mhm, guide, unless we're trying to surrender, mhm, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't, you may be very good at harmonium, very good at kirtan, very good at so many things. But if you don't have this one thing, it's all ultimately it's useless. It's all useless. So first thing is we have to develop faith, is Lord and devotees. First we have to develop faith in devotees, actually. That devotees are my best well-wisher. Bhakti starts from that. So when we have faith that devotees are my well-wisher, then we can see Lord is my well-wisher. Then when we when we feel Lord is my well-wisher, then we develop love. Slowly we develop attraction, we develop love for the Lord. And then we develop desire to actually serve him. So, uh, Spontaneous service attitude, it comes, it comes by the mercy of devotees. And this is very important in our spiritual life. It is very, very important because as we are slowly and slowly praying, we are hoping to gain attraction for the process of remembering, for hearing and chanting about Krishna. The seed of becoming attracted to hearing and chanting about Krishna is the blessings of devotees. We glorify spiritual masters for traveling, for preaching, for so many things, but what we fail to notice, or we may fail to notice, is how much they have, for so many years and so many months, for so many days, they have been serving their authorities, serving the senior devotees. That we fail to recognize, but that is the most important thing. It's not just enough to collect blessings on on a particular day. Blessings comes uh, when we try to please our authority, our seniors. This is a very important point. And blessings does not come just by asking for blessings. Yes, when we ask for blessings, yes, prayers of devotees, yes, definitely helps. But blessing comes actually when Krishna become pleased with our surrender. And Krishna become pleased with how much we humble ourselves before devotees. Surrender can mean, or can mean different thing in different situations, but the most the simple or the most clear cut evidence of surrender is when, if you surrender, you're trying your best to surrender, you will immediately experience uh, the fact that your faith in Krishna as your only protector will increase. Like yesterday I was reading a quote by His Holiness Gorban Maharaj. He said that, why should we feel insecure? Why should we feel insecure? Lord is our greatest protector. And then Maharaj said, if we are insecure, that means we are doubting the Lord as our best protector, which means that it's a very dangerous position for us. So, coming back to the discussion, so this is the central aspect of bhakti. And that's why Guru Bhakti is the only one thing. If we have this one thing, Guru Bhakti, that surrender to the lotus feet of a spiritual master and spiritual master representative, if we have this one thing in spiritual life, we can cross over all difficulties. We can go beyond this material world, because ultimately Krishna is the one who is going to clean our heart. Guru is the one who is going to clean our heart. We cannot do it by ourselves. All we have to do is, with full faith and full enthusiasm, we have to follow his instruction. So if we develop love for the spiritual master and spiritual master representatives, and not only love for them as a person, but love for their cause, love for their mission, then, like, for example, if someone feels that, oh, this is Srila Prabhupada's temple, Prabhupada personally established Mangala Arati, Prabhupada personally established this morning program, Prabhupada was very much attached, and Prabhupada wanted this program to serve the devotees in ISKCON. So you become attached to Prabhupada's desire of establishing morning program. Then you don't just you see Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada personally did this for me. So I have to reciprocate with Srila Prabhupada by coming to the morning program. Just giving an example. So it doesn't matter whether I'm sick, whether I'm this, but I have to come. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada, he went through so much pain to establish this thing. So the more and more we see everything as Guru's property, or these are Srila Prabhupada's devotees. This is Srila Prabhupada's temple. This is Prabhupada's project. This is Prabhupada's books. So the more and more we have this vision, this Prabhupada consciousness of everything around us, then it becomes easier for us to function our daily life. Before we become upset at a devotee, before we Or I do it all the time, because out of before, false ego inspires us to, chastise some devotee. This is Prabhupada's devotee. Like, therefore, I should treat Prabhupada's devotee. I should respect Prabhupada's devotee in such a way that Srila Prabhupada will be pleased. So this will stop us from acting on our condition, on our conditioning. So this praying to the Lord, this promise has to be done constantly. We have to keep taking this vow again and again. It's not enough just one time. And if we pray sincerely and seriously to the Lord will give us inspiration on what we can do to make sure we're not put in this condition. Because, like, his basically Kishore quotes as example that the ostrich, when being chased by the lion or tiger, goes and buries its head in the ground, thinking that ignorance is bliss, that if it just goes into ignorance, then nothing will happen. But the lion or the tiger comes and eats up the ostrich. So just by saying that I don't want to take repeated birth and death is not enough. Right? We need to know what to do, and we need to do it, not just. So if we pray, then we'll get inspiration, uh, we'll get help from our authorities, and we'll engage in services. Service is very, very important. Whether big or small, it doesn't matter, but service is very important. That's why Prabhupada went through so much trouble. His grace also went through so much trouble to bring this temple. Why? For service. So because we may not, at least I'm not qualified to be on the spontaneous platform of just hearing and chanting, but by executing service regularly. So how we should execute service? We should execute service regularly, with great care, love, and attention to all the details, and with great attachment. Yes, of course, at some point, if we are asked to do some other service, we should do again. When the service also must be executed with attachment, because that is our only attachment. Either in the conditional liberated state, service is our only attachment. Like Damayanti, Mother Damayanti, her greatest attachment was her service to Lord Chaitanya. That's why, because of her great attachment to her service, great affection, through her service, everything she cooked would remain fresh for so many months. So we have to be attached to our service, attached through our service to giving pleasure to the Lord's senses. And in this way, as we become more and more attached to giving pleasure to the Lord through our service, no more and more we experience the reciprocation of the Lord in the form of taste. I'm not qualified to speak, but taste in hearing and chanting. And actually, I'm speaking about myself, that forget about all this death and all these things. But, when the time when you become sick and and I become sick, especially, I recognize, where is my condition? What is my taste of chanting the holy name? So you don't have to go, I don't have to go very far, but disease is enough to actually make me understand where is my condition. So I need all of your blessings and prayers so I can make advancement. But ultimately, at the end of everything, what really matters is how much we are trying our best to please Krishna. Instead of focusing on the negatives or the fall downs or the problems, if we just focus on one thing, that how much am I trying to please my authority, how much am I trying to please Krishna, that is enough. That is enough. And we need to take shelter. It's not just enough to do service, but we need to take shelter. Actually, service means, first thing, we should depend on the object of service, should depend on Krishna. That Krishna, I depend. Whatever arrangement you make, I depend. I want your arrangement. This is the first thing, depend. Second thing is that we perform service without any ulterior motive. And third is we perform service with great affection and love. Yeah, we may not have great love for Krishna, but start with becoming lovingly, executing the details when we are performing our service. If you pray, you'll get inspiration. Definitely, Krishna will give you inspiration. and how you can serve him nicely. So these three things: don't ask for any material return while service. Don't uh, try to execute service with love, and depend, which means that whatever happens, wherever it happens, I will come back to the lotus feet. I'll take shelter. So that is very important. So only by this service attitude we can gain attraction for Nam Ruchi. Nam Ruchi does not mean just Nam Ruchi, but it means also Katha Ruchi, all kinds of Ruchi. So Ruchi, and then by the force of that Ruchi, we can try to become an instrument to spread this to others. So please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong or inappropriate, but this is what I wanted to speak today. Anyone has any question or comment?
Roji, thank you so much for the wonderful class. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to appreciate you bringing up the point of sincerity, and what is important is following the instruction of superiors. That is very important point which you shared, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Anyone has any other question or comment on it?
Hare Krishna, Danut Pranam, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Yes.
the days passes like, very quickly for someone like me. I'm old and my days are like moving very fast, I feel. Now, when we have a little bit thought process of service and surrender and all that, but the intensity which you were saying, I don't feel the same intensity. How to bring into that intensity, or how to get into that intensity, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, bro. Basically, I myself am struggling. I know, like I told, whenever, anyways, I myself am struggling. That's a fact. So the thing is that uh, the best thing that works when you're going through any struggle uh, is to actually go to whoever you're taking guidance from and take shelter. See, just the act of taking shelter, if you just go to someone serious and say, Prabhu, I'm weak, I'm struggling, that itself requires a lot of humility to do that. Because many times, we become attached to the conception of, I am great, I am wonderful. And devotees also appreciate us, so it's easy to go into the kind of illusion. But when we go in front of a devotee, say, Prabhu, I'm struggling, not doing good, then Krishna becomes very pleased with that. And what Krishna does, Krishna rewards us with a lot of enthusiasm and intensity in spiritual life. And and also we are rewarded actually with the consciousness of the devotee. The devotee whom we're going surrendering, his spiritual wealth, his inspiration, we're awarded with that. So this is the only solution, bro. There is no ulterior solution. We don't make advancement in spiritual life by changing the place, by changing our service. No, this is the only way. There is no substitute for this. Yes, that is my
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
You said the two things are very important. The first one, you said clear understanding of where I'm going, how I'm going, how to come up all of this, right? How do we know, like, where I'm going, I know that I'm going to do that. It's not, what should be a good,
So what is the question, bro?
what is should be our, like, you want us to, measure of what doing.
No, what I'm trying to say, Navroji, that we have to know what is the goal of our spiritual life, and we need to know that like give an example that suppose like here Shreya Mataji is sitting, right? So she's a student. So I'm also a student. As a student, I have certain subjects which are strong with certain subjects which are weak. And I know how I have to balance, how I have to do, manage in such a way that my overall result will be all right. Right? In the same way, we need to know that what is our strength in Krishna consciousness? Like as Krishna always says, um, increase or enhance the strengths and plug the weaknesses. So, of course, weaknesses eventually, if we are sincere, will become strength for us. But that's the point. So that's what the process of Anartha Nivritti is. Anartha Nivritti is in the process of curbing our enjoying spirit. That's what Krishna is seeing. Krishna is not seeing that we are free from Anartha, but Krishna is seeing how much we want to become free from Anartha, which means that the small thing Krishna is seeing, you know, like for example, I never do this, but I aspire to do this. You do some service. His Grace Yoga Prabhu says always, you do some service, you do some incredible service, you get some incredible reciprocation, something from the Lord, and you don't tell anything to anyone. You tell, bro, I'm struggling. I mean, genuinely, not like just as a, kind of a, you tell genuinely, I'm struggling. And, for example, Krishna Guru is nodding, he does it all the time for me. But so generally, I'm struggling, genuinely. So Lord become very pleased with that. What you're telling the Lord, I want to become free from this false ego. I want to become free from this tendency to take credit. So Lord, yeah, very good. He wants to become free. Like that, for example, like that. So that is the process of Anartha actually. We are showing to the Lord how much we want to actually come out of it. And the next thing I said also is more important or as important is actually shelter of devotee. Who is my shelter or who is the person I'm surrendered to? Tomorrow something happens, here, there happens. Who will I take shelter of? How much independent am I in my decision? I'm speaking of myself. Like just for example, suppose, if I want to go somewhere, I want to do something. Yeah, do I ask my authority? Should I go? Should I do? What do you think? Or am I like, Prabhuji, I am going, I want to. So one mode is I'm taking permission after making my own plan. Another way is actually I ask guidance. And you follow this process, now you'll never be cheated. You're always afraid that you'll be cheated. You'll never be cheated actually. You'll never be cheated.
Shiksha Guru,
Yes.
it's really difficult to do a policy. So actually, I was trying to look at how class and in correction one way to help move in the direction of removing false leader is to follow the basics. To follow what how you say, right? We have to take shelter in the object of devotion. And to do that, we should be attached to our service, attached to the details of our service. And probably that internally will help us get rid of false ego, because then we will be under, we will actually start accepting our position as servant and we will feel sheltered. So just this point, I don't have a question, but I was just trying to understand that by instead of focusing on how to get rid of the negatives in us, better to go in the direction of taking shelter, guidance, and being attached to our object of devotion.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, with your permission, can I add something? So the thing is that what I feel is the best way to purify the false ego is to take humble position in front of devotees. That's the best way to purify actually. especially the devotees we're living with. See, it's easy to take humble position in front of seniors, easy to even take humble position in front of devotees we may not see regularly. But then the devotees who see our faults, who see our, our whatever, to take humble position of them, that is difficult. It's not easy. Taking them for granted is very easy. Can you get prasad for me? Can you get this? Can you get that? It's very easy to say like that. But when you take humble position in front of them, that's what I feel that really helps the false ego. It's a very practical way to to overcome, to work on it. Because uh, what I feel is the only thing which is required in our spiritual life is I mean, the main thing is our enthusiasm, right? So the enthusiasm with which we perform our activities determine how much we make a progress, right? So of course you're always enthusiastic, but I'm just speaking for myself that to always remain enthusiastic in the process of devotion, like this is the secret. To take a humble position, to take a humble position before seniors, before those we're trying to help also, and before those who we consider our friends. So best is actually to have this understanding that everyone is more advanced than me. Everyone. Like the famous thing, right? That uh, forgot the name of the devotee, Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yes. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, I think Krishna, I guess someone asked him to find one person who is more fallen than him. He said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't find anyone lower than me." So that is the best position. I mean, not sentimentally, not in a self-derogatory way, but just know that, yeah, I am most fallen. Just, I need help. That's all. Anyone else like to say anything? You're all much better than me, so many ways.
Explain how the Jiva is like struggling here and like not the purpose and how can one exit from this situation. But from this verse, I'm just trying to understand the path of Sapta Vediti Prabhuji. Please mention exactly the 7 layers. Kapila, Lord Kapila is different here. I can understand 5 Panchaputas, and the other 2 could be.
What's it's given? Not right before, but there is one question. The 8 layers are Panchbhuta and four
Yeah.
and
Yes.
mind and intelligence.
Yes. Got the answer.
No, I suppose, but I'm trying to 7 what exactly here the 7 mentioned. The 8 are there, but are there any difference between than the 1?
I have to check it. I'll let you know later.
I think both large, narrow, like that, right?
I heard that
331 translation says within 4 months of the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely, the shell, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen come into the existence. I think those are the 7 that he's referring. Again, that's mine. In the purpose of reading is number translation. Basically, these verses are how the life starts.
Okay, Prabhus and Matajis, please forgive me for anything wrong and inappropriate. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha pavitanam pavane pedasya